There was a small village in an American state called Mississippi, where every night many innocent people were being brutally killed. After the sun set and darkness fell each night, the people of this village could not leave their houses for any reason. After dark, several man-eating demons or vampires roamed around inside this village. And our movie today, titled Sinners, is inspired by the terrifying tale from that village. So, at the very beginning of the story, we are told that music is the only thing in the whole world that possesses immense healing power. Good music can make any human forget all their sorrows and pain and cure all their diseases. And according to mythological beliefs, there exist several musicians in the whole world whose songs contain some miraculous powers. From birth, they can sing so beautifully and enchantingly that, upon hearing it, a strange connection is forged between birth, death, the past, and the future. Hearing their magical, powerful songs, any human can forget all their sorrows and pain and rise up in joy. But, along with humans, ghosts, spirits, and evil souls are also greatly attracted to this magical music. These strangely powerful musicians are called by various different names all over the world. For example, Fili, Faya, Clippers, etc. And after saying these things, the main story of this movie begins. So, the story begins on October 16th, 1932, from a small village in America called Mississippi. There, we see a boy named Sammy entering a church in the village in a very injured state, trembling with fear, holding a broken guitar. Seeing him in this condition, all the people in the church became very frightened. It was clearly evident that some terrible incident had happened to Sammy the previous night. Now, the father of that church quickly calls Sammy to him and tells him to chant the name of God. Now Sammy, terrified, starts doing exactly as he is told. And from here, we are shown the events of one day prior. We see Sammy lived in this village with his entire family, and here he worked in a cotton field. And during breaks from his work, in his free time, he would play guitar and sing. Actually, he had a natural talent. Since childhood, he could sing strangely beautiful and enchanting songs. Everyone liked this very much, and his wish was to one day go to the city and become a very big musician. But Sammy's father absolutely did not like this. Actually, his father was the father of this village's church, and he wanted Sammy to stop his music and chant God's name in this church, so that when Sammy grew up, he too would become a father like him. But Sammy didn't take his father's words very seriously at all, because he was not at all willing to give up his music. One day, after finishing work, he meets his two cousins with his guitar. They were twin brothers. One was named Stack, the other was named Smock. Both had participated in the First World War for their country. Now, after the war ended, they had earned quite a lot of money in the city and returned to their village. Now, these two brothers together wanted to build a juke joint, meaning a nightclub in this village where only all the black people of this village could come, and they could sing, drink alcohol, forget the tiredness of the whole day, and have a good time. And now, for this work, the two brothers together bought some land and an old factory from a white man named Hogwood, who was also from this village, paying him quite a lot of money. Now, they wanted to build their nightclub on this land. Seeing Hogwood there, it was clear he was a racist, and he absolutely did not like black people. And that's why, while talking to the two brothers, he kept spitting while looking at their faces. Now, after buying this place, the two brothers set out to find some people to work in their nightclub. First of all, they meet their cousin, Sammy. Since Sammy sang amazingly beautiful songs, they wanted Sammy to sing every night at their nightclub from now on. Then they contacted a man named Delta Slim to play the piano. And at the same time, they called a girl named Perlin to sing. To guard the gate of their nightclub, meaning as a bouncer, they hired a man named Comrade. And here, to serve food and alcohol, meaning as bartenders, they put Grace and Bo in charge. Here, while searching for various people around the village, Stack meets a girl named Mary. Many years ago, Stack and Mary used to love each other very much. But one day, without telling Mary anything, Stack suddenly left her. Since that incident, Mary had been waiting for Stack until today. And now, suddenly seeing Stack, she gets very angry. Mary says, "I have been waiting for you for so many years, but you never came to see me even once. Even yesterday, my mother died, but still you didn't come to her funeral to see me even once. How can you be so cruel?" And saying this, she shows tremendous anger towards Stack and leaves from there. On the other hand, we see Smock coming home to see his wife, Annie, after finishing all their tasks. Although Smock and Annie were married, they had been living apart for many years. Actually, quite a few months ago, their baby girl had died. And grieving excessively from that event, Smock had left Annie and gone far away from his home. But now, returning to the village after so many years, their old love seems to start reviving between them. Now Smock invites Annie to come to their new nightclub too. On the other end of the village, we see a man named Remick. We see his whole body is burned, and smoke is starting to rise from it. Now, in a severely injured state, he limps to a house outside the village to ask for help. A couple named Joanne and Bert lived in this house. At first, seeing Remick, the two were very scared and pointed a gun at him. Seeing this, Remick starts lying to them. He says, "A group of people attacked my house and killed my wife and my daughter, but I barely escaped with my life and ran here. Now, please, let me hide inside your house. Otherwise, those people will come and kill me now." And saying this, he breaks down crying profusely. Hearing Remick's words, Bert and Joe help him hide inside their house. Sometime after this incident, a group of hunters arrives in front of their house in a car and on several horses. Now, one of the hunters says to Joe, "We are trying to find a man. He looks very ordinary, but he is extremely dangerous. He can cause great harm to any human. Have you seen any stranger like that here?" Joanne says, "No, we haven't seen anyone like that." Hearing this, the hunter says, "If you let that man into your house, you will be in very big trouble. So, tell us the truth while there's still time." But Joanne says she hasn't seen any unfamiliar person here. Amidst all this, the sun sets and darkness begins to fall. Seeing this, another hunter from outside says, "We must leave here before it gets completely dark. Staying in this place any longer will not be safe for us." And saying this, all the hunters leave before the sun fully sets and darkness falls. Seeing this, Joanne now returns to her house, feeling very relieved. But upon arriving there, she sees her husband, Bert, lying dead on the ground in a terribly bloody state, and Remick was sitting right beside him, with blood all over his face and body. It seemed as if he had now turned into a terrifying monster. His nails and teeth had become huge, long and sharp, and the pupils of his eyes had turned white. Actually, Remick was a vampire. Vampires can live for thousands, millions of years if they wish. They cannot be killed easily. There are special methods for that, and they typically survive by drinking human blood. And if they suck the blood and kill any human shortly after, that dead human also turns into a vampire like them. But they have several weaknesses. For example, if sunlight touches their skin, it starts to burn. That's why they always come out only in the dark of night. And that's why when Remick came to Bert and Joanne's house a while ago, sunlight touched his skin, burning it and causing smoke to rise. Now Remick laughs like a devil and says to Joe, "Don't be afraid at all. Everything will be all right slowly." And as soon as he says this, Bert stands up alive from beside him. Actually, Bert had now also turned into a vampire. Seeing all this, Joe now becomes terribly frightened and starts screaming loudly. Meanwhile, one day after this incident, Stack and Smock inaugurate their nightclub with great fanfare. On the opening day, many people from the whole village came there. They all drank, ate, danced and sang, having a good time. Every person from the village seemed to be able to come here and enjoy themselves carefreely and happily. And that's why the few people hired to work here were now extremely busy. Among everyone else, Stack's ex-girlfriend, Mary, had also come. After the party had been going on for quite some time, Sammy starts to sing. And here, he was singing so beautifully and well that, upon hearing it, it truly seemed like a path was created between the past and the future. We see that now, inside that nightclub, many spirits seem to have come from the past and the future, and each one of them was really enjoying Sammy's song, and this is exactly what we were told at the very beginning of this movie. Meanwhile, we see that hearing Sammy's song from afar, Remick, Bert, and Joanne are now also intensely attracted and come near their nightclub. Now these three ask the gateman, Comrade, for permission to enter the nightclub. But the problem was these three were white people, and that nightclub had been built exclusively for black people. So they were not allowed to enter inside now. Although the three claimed they were going to another city nearby, hearing Sammy's song from outside, they liked it so much that now they wanted to enter this club, dance, sing, eat, drink, and have a really good time. But Smock, Stack, and everyone else didn't let them enter the club and chased them away from there. However, instead of going far, the three sat down on the road near the club and started singing among themselves. After quite some more time passed this way, Mary came out of the nightclub alone to return home. After coming some distance, she sees Remick, Bert, and Joanne, who were still sitting by the roadside singing. Now Mary also quietly sits beside them and starts listening to their song. And after a while, when their song ended, Mary says to them, "You all sing so beautifully. Do you really want to go to our nightclub?" Then Remick says, "We just want to have a good time. Nothing else. And for spending time in your club, we are willing to spend a lot of money too." and saying this, he gives Joan several gold coins. But while talking, quite a lot of saliva or drool started falling from Remek's mouth, and now he started trying to move towards Mary in a very strange way. Seeing this, Mary quickly pulls out a gun she had and points it at them. This incident had terrified Mary, so she tells the three to leave from there and starts heading back to the nightclub. But then we see Remek leaping towards her from behind. Sometime later, we see Mary has returned safely to the nightclub. Now, to enter inside, she first asks Comrade for permission. And as soon as she gets permission, she enters inside and starts enjoying the party again. After quite some time like this, she calls Stack to an empty room next door with her. There, under the pretext of being intimate with Stack, she bites his neck and starts sucking his blood. Now, hearing Stack's screams, Smock, Annie, and everyone else come there from beside them. We see Stack's whole body was covered in blood, and he was lying lifeless on the ground. And blood was also on the face and whole body of Mary standing nearby. Seeing this, Smock now clearly understands that she killed his brother. So now he fires 5 or 6 shots trying to kill Mary. But we see, despite so many bullets hitting her body, Mary wasn't harmed at all. Now she gets up, laughing, and runs out of the nightclub. And while leaving, she screams, "We will kill every single one of you, one by one." From this incident, Smock, Annie, Sammy, each one of them became very frightened. Now, upon checking, it is seen that Stack had died completely in this incident. And seeing him in this state, Smock was mentally shattered, because he loved his brother very much. After this incident, the party is now stopped, and everyone else is asked to leave the nightclub. Then Annie tells Smock and everyone else that Mary had died long ago and turned into a vampire, and that's why, even after so many bullets hit her body, she wasn't harmed. And since Mary bit Stack and sucked his blood, killing him, Stack would also turn into a vampire shortly. Therefore, we must quickly take Stack's dead body outside from here. Otherwise, we will all be in great danger. Hearing this, Smock gets very angry and says, "Stack is my brother, and no one will take him outside. He will stay inside this room." Seeing all these events, a girl named Grace who was there became very frightened. Now she wanted to quickly return home from here, because her baby daughter was alone at home then. So now, Grace's husband, Bo, goes outside to bring their car to go home. Meanwhile, while all this was happening, the doorman or security guard of this nightclub, Comrade, had gone outside to use the bathroom. And taking advantage of this, Remek and his people also bit him and turned him into a vampire. Sometime later, he returns and starts asking for permission to enter inside the nightclub. Hearing this, they become very suspicious. They say, "Why do you need permission to enter the club now? You should be able to enter as you wish." Actually, these vampires cannot enter anyone's house without permission. And since Comrade had now become a vampire, he couldn't enter the club at will. But Comrade absolutely refused to accept this here. He says, "If you don't let me in now, it's no problem, but give me the money for the work I did here today." And saying this, he starts demanding his wages from Smock. Then, when Smock just reaches his hand outside the boundary of the room to give him the money, Comrade grabs his hand, pulls him outside, and tries to attack him. Although Smock had understood this beforehand, so he quickly pulls out his gun and shoots Comrade in the face, injuring him. And then Smock quickly enters the nightclub and closes its door. At this time, each one of them was in great fear. They couldn't believe the events at all. Amidst all this, they hear Stack's voice from inside a room. Actually, a little while ago, after Stack died, they had locked his dead body in a room. But now Stack says from inside that room, "A while ago, I was sick, but now I've fully recovered. So open the door and let me come out." Seeing this, everyone else becomes even more frightened. Now no one wanted to open the door and let him out. So, after a while, Stack breaks the door himself and comes out. But before he attacks anyone, Annie sprinkles garlic water all over his body. Because of this, Stack's whole body starts burning, and so he quickly escapes and gets outside that room. Then Annie tells everyone that these vampires have several weaknesses. For example, they cannot tolerate sunlight, and similarly, they cannot tolerate garlic and silver. Coming into contact with these makes their skin burn and start to burn. And these vampires cannot be killed with guns, bullets, bombs, or sharp weapons. To kill them, a wooden stake must be driven into their chest. We must now kill all the vampires one by one in this way. Then they all start preparing to fight the vampires. First of all, they peel quite a lot of garlic and put them in a glass jar. And at the same time, they each keep a sharp wooden stake with them. Amidst all this, they notice someone lying on the ground in a corner of the room, and the whole area beside him was wet. Seeing this, They all thought that perhaps some vampire had attacked this man and killed him. Now, before that man turned into a vampire, they quickly take his dead body outside the nightclub. Now they all thought that perhaps one of them had turned into a vampire and secretly attacked and killed that man. And now, to find out about this, everyone decides that each one of them will eat a raw garlic clove. Although at first, several people didn't want to accept Annie's suggestion, eventually everyone was forced to eat a garlic clove. Now we see each one of them was healthy. Now they realized that the man they thought was dead and threw outside a while ago was actually alive. He had just fainted from excessive drinking and fallen on the ground, and the bottle of alcohol in his hand had broken, wetting the whole area around him, which they mistakenly thought was blood. Meanwhile, by now, that man outside had regained consciousness, and now he starts screaming loudly, asking for help. But before they could do anything, Combrette attacks and kills that man. Meanwhile, we see that Bo, Grace's husband, arrives. Now he tells Grace, "I've brought the car. Come outside quickly. We need to go home now." Although by now, everyone understood very well that Bo had become a vampire here, so no one was talking to him. Then Remick comes there and tells them all, "If you want to live, let us all enter the club. We will set you all free. Then you will become immortal forever. And if you don't listen to us, we will go to Grace's house right now, where Grace's baby girl is alone now." Hearing about her daughter, Grace becomes terribly frightened and very worried. Remick says, "I have acquired the memories of everyone I turned into a vampire, and in this way, I have learned many things about you from your sisters and your loved ones." And saying this, he starts telling Grace some very personal things about her. Hearing which, Grace breaks down crying profusely. After a while, Remick says, "All right, just hand Sammy over to us. His songs have a magical power. Just as I was drawn here by his song, in the same way other vampires will also be drawn to him. And in this way, with Sammy's song, I want to gather all the other vampires in one place. So if you hand Sammy over to us now, I will let you all go." Meanwhile, Stack, Mary, and all the other vampires arrive there, and now they all together tell them, "Either let us into the club, or hand Sammy over to us." But Smock and the others didn't want to accept any of their conditions. So now they all close the club door and go inside. But after a while, we see all the vampires are singing a song together, and it was that song that Grace and Bo used to sing for their daughter. Hearing this, Grace becomes extremely agitated. She says, "If you have harmed my daughter in any way, I will kill every single one of you. If you have the power, come here and fight me." And saying this, Grace mistakenly tells all the vampires to enter their nightclub. Hearing this, all the vampires now enter inside. Meanwhile, everyone inside now quickly prepares to fight them. And in this way, a terrible fight breaks out between them in an instant. They all together manage to kill many vampires using sharp wooden stakes with great difficulty. But slowly, in this fight, Annie, Grace, Delta Slim, Perlin, each one of them dies. Even at one point, when Stack was about to bite Annie to turn her into a vampire, Smock was forced to drive a sharp wooden stake into Annie's chest, killing her. Actually, Annie had told Smock beforehand that she did not want to become a vampire in any way. Before she became a vampire, Smock should drive a wooden stake into her chest and kill her. And now, as Annie had said, Smock did exactly that. But it was causing him immense pain to kill the person he loved with his own hands. Seeing Annie die like that, Mary now also felt tremendous pain and ran away from there. Now, slowly, everyone here died, and only Smock and Sammy were left alive. Now, unable to fight so many vampires, the two tried to escape through the back way. But then Stack attacks Smock there, and now a fight breaks out between the two brothers. But ultimately, Smock defeats Stack by killing him after great difficulty. Meanwhile, while the two were fighting among themselves, Sammy tried to escape, but Remick catches him shortly after. Now he wanted to kill Sammy slowly, causing him pain bit by bit, and all the other vampires came there to watch this incident. Now Remick cuts Sammy's face with his big nails. Then, just before killing Sammy completely, Sammy strikes Remick's head hard with the guitar in his hand. There was a silver part inside that guitar, which now pierced into Remick's head, causing him tremendous agony. Here we see that, as soon as Remick was hit, all the other vampires were also in great pain. Actually, since Remick alone had turned all of them into vampires, he was now their boss. And that's why, now when his body was hurt, the others were also hurt. Now, because Silver had pierced Remick's head, while they were all writhing in tremendous pain, Smock comes from behind and drives a wooden stake into Remick's chest. Because of this, all the other vampires nearby now start writhing in agony. And with this, dawn breaks, and the sun rises there. And as soon as the sunlight touched them, all the vampires' bodies started burning in fire. Finally, even Remick himself burned to death here. Now, finally, all the vampires here died, and their souls were freed. After this incident, Smock tells Sammy to go back to his house. And now Sammy, in a very injured state, goes to the church and meets his father. And seeing him, his father tells him to throw away the guitar, stop the music, and chant God's name. And this is the scene we saw right at the beginning of the story. Meanwhile, we see Smock sitting in front of their nightclub, very sad and depressed. He remembers how, just one day ago, he and his brother and his friends had built this nightclub with great difficulty. But now everything had ended in one night. He had lost his brother, his loved one, all his friends. While Smock was sitting there, feeling sad, Hogwood arrives at the nightclub with some of his men from the back way. Actually, Hogwood's plan was to kill Smock and his brother this very morning and take back all their money and this place for himself. Actually, he didn't want any black person to use his place under any circumstances. But before they could do anything, Smock sees them from afar and starts firing wildly at them. In this incident, Hogwood is severely injured, and his other companions die, and ultimately, Smock manages to kill Hogwood and all his companions with great difficulty. But in this incident, he was also shot and severely injured, and after a while, he too slowly dies. Before dying, he felt as if his wife, Annie, and his dead baby daughter were waiting for him. Meanwhile, we see Sammy now, ignoring his father's words, sets out crying, leaving his house with his broken guitar, because he loved playing guitar and singing very much, and he didn't want to give it up under any circumstances. Then we see that 60 years have passed since this incident, and it's now 1992. We see Sammy is now very old, but to fulfill his passion, he still sings at a nightclub in Chicago. In this way, his life was going quite well as per his wishes. But one night, Stack and Mary suddenly come to see him. Seeing this, Sammy becomes very frightened. Here, although Sammy had become very old, Stack and Mary seemed not to have aged at all. They looked exactly the same as they did 60 years ago. Now Sammy, very surprised, asks, "How are you two still alive?" Stack says, "My brother, meaning Smock, loved me very much, and that night, he couldn't bring himself to kill me. He only made me promise that I wouldn't harm you in any way and would always stay far away from you. And since I gave my word to my brother, I never came near you all these years. But now that you are very old, you will probably die in a few days or months. But if you wish, I can make you immortal by turning you into a vampire." Then Sammy says, "No, I have had everything in my life. Now I want to enjoy my death properly." Hearing this, Stack says, "Whatever you wish shall be, but before leaving here, I want to hear you sing once." Now Sammy starts singing to them with his guitar. After a while, as Stack and Mary are leaving, Sammy tells them, "Do you know, I still haven't been able to forget that night when that terrible incident happened. But the time I spent with you before that horrific night arrived, that remains the best day of my life to this day." Stack says, "You are absolutely right. That day was the last time I saw my brother, the last time I went out in the sunlight, and the last time I enjoyed real freedom. I truly miss that day." And saying this, Stack and Mary leave from there. And Sammy now also remembers that old day with great wonder. And here the story of this movie ends. If you liked the video, you can subscribe to the channel.